Donald Trump wants to just pretend the virus does not exist. He's willing to risk infecting his most loyal supporters for the brief rush of serotonin that an arena of cheering, adoring fans will give him. But for many of the people who supported him back in 2016, that attitude is exactly the reason they will not be voting for him again.
I voted for Trump because a lot of my Republican friends encouraged me to do so. I do not think that he has handled the COVID thing well. And even though he thinks it's beautiful and perfect, I don't think so.
In 2016, I voted for Donald Trump. Once the coronavirus hit, everything just, I wouldn't vote him at all now.
I did vote for Trump in 2016. He's just, and I would have probably voted for him again had all the things with the coronavirus not taken place.
I voted for Trump in 2016. Trump's handling of the COVID-19 is a disgrace and has caused more death than the Vietnam War. I will vote for anyone who can beat Donald Trump. I will vote for Joe Biden if need be.
As polarized as this country is, even many Republican voters, even many Trump voters, have finally noticed that nothing is fine. Those are just some of the hundreds of video testimonials from disaffected Trump voters and Republicans collected by the Republican Voters Against Trump Project. The group's political director, longtime Republican campaign operative Tim Miller, joins me now. And Tim, I have to say, I find your website, there's just tons of these. I sort of fall down a hole watching them. And the reason I find them so interesting is what the breaking point is for different people, and also the fact that the country is very polarized. There's not a lot. The movements are small, but the people that are moving, it's interesting to hear why at this late date they are moving. And it does seem to me that what has happened over the last 4 months is just unavoidable.
Yeah, look, it's a significant percentage, right, Chris? It might not be a big percentage and say our people couldn't win a Republican primary, but in an election that Trump only won by 80,000 votes, and there are millions of these voters, and this is who we've been talking to in focus groups at Republican Voters Against Trump, people that voted for him, but now say that they disapprove of him. And we've tried to learn why and how we can reach these voters, and that's what this project came out of. So we asked them, tell us yourself and give us these testimonials. Go to rvat.org and you can upload these testimonials. And they've been so moving, honestly. A lot of these people just say they want to get something off their chest. And I think that their stories are connecting with other people's. And what we're learning is there are millions of people like them, and they could be the difference in carrying Biden to a victory. And if the political environment doesn't change between now and November, they can be the difference in carrying him to a big victory. A 2 or 3% move of these Republicans who voted for Trump that didn't really like him in last time, but they just hated Hillary more. That's the difference between losing close like Hillary did and winning 400 electoral votes. And so those are the people that we're trying to talk to at this project.
You are someone who spent a long time in Republican politics, professional Republican political dude, and you have been a very outspoken never-Trumper. And I'm curious, as you watch, the RNC debacle to me is just the sort of perfect allegory about what's happened in the era of Trump, both to the country, to the Republican Party. These places falling over themselves to have a convention. It's also insane. What do you think is this thing going to happen? Can you imagine it happening?
Tulsa happened, right? Donald Trump has this effect on people within the party. So here's the thing. We're talking to these 3 to 5 to maybe optimistically 8% of the voters that we can win over. There's another 40% that are with Trump on whatever. And that is the tail that's wagging the dog, right, Chris? And so I guess it could happen. We did one of those polls that you showed that found that even Republican voters didn't want the convention to happen in Jacksonville. But there's this strong base, and there's just Trump's ego that I think is going to force it through, at least in some form or fashion. He can't take the embarrassment. That's what it's all about.
You just referenced Tulsa, and one thing that I keep sort of regrounding me and sort of centering my sanity a little bit amidst this insane time is just that there is some gravity that exists. Like, people did not come out to that Tulsa thing because they had rational fear that it was not a good idea to go be inside an indoor arena in the midst of a once-in-a-century pandemic. I mean, you've got now the RNC saying, like, well, maybe we're going to push this outdoors. Like, there's a certain immovable object nature to the virus, to the reality to it, and the gravity of it that does seem to me to keep regrounding the politics of the absurd that is Donald Trump.
Yeah, and this is what you learn from these videos, Chris, is that a lot of these folks really have changed their mind in the last 3 months because finally, between the virus and between these protests in their communities, something happened that affected them. And they thought that Trump was going to be a businessman and a deal maker, but they see him just totally unprepared, unable, unwilling to even try to handle this crisis, and it pains them. You can see how some of them feel almost ashamed that they feel duped, right? And so, that is why we're doing this project, is to create a strength in numbers so that other people who are noticing this, looking around now too, and saying, this is insane what is happening, they can see there are other people like them. And I do think that Tulsa was a little bit of a canary in the coal mine in that regard, that folks just didn't show up for it in this reddest of red states.
Yeah, we should say that right now the polling average is, national polling average has Joe Biden up by 9 points over Donald Trump. No incumbent president has won by double digits since Herbert Hoover. But we live in very different times, although the catastrophe seems like it's around that magnitude. Tim Miller, the site is Republican Voters Against Trump. And I got to say, just as a kind of a time capsule or a collection of texts from this era, it's a really fascinating website. I've really enjoyed and learned a lot from just going through them. So thanks for coming by.
Thanks so much. And the best ones are on TV right now in North Carolina and Arizona. We're hoping to do that in other swing states as well, coming soon.
Word. I want